I hate to admit it, but it's kind of peak. What's up, guys? That guy with a pencil on pencil here. Fun fact, I do happen to have it on me and keep it on me at all times. So another fun fact, I have 10 minutes to explain my thoughts on Neo Egoist League Reo as a character, how he was handled narratively, and bada bing, bada boom, timer started. I actually do like it. Notably, I will not sit here and lie to you, or trick you, or deceive, or beguile you. I've never been the biggest fan of Reo. That's just a me thing. I know he's a very popular, beloved character. He's the deuteragonist of his own manga series, which is quickly coming to an end in August. He is, honestly, one of Blue Lock's fan favorites, but it just never really clicked for me. Like, I don't know, I never really got the Reo hype, I'll be completely honest. And notably, I'm a guy who loves copy powers. I like spam them all the time when I'm making OCs and stuff like that. Trust me, I love me a good copy power, but for some reason, Reo never really clicked with me. But then I think the Neo Egoist League made me realize why Reo never clicked for me, and it was the fact that he was so heavily reliant on Nagi. And I think that was kind of like the core basis of my dislike for him the whole time, but nothing showed me that more than the Neo Egoist League, and very specifically, how quickly Reo folded when Nagi said, "Come back to me, daddy," and Reo was like, "Absolutely, Pokey Bear," and went straight back to him. Completely undoing his own development, completely undoing Nagi's own development, and completely sending those two down a cliff of destruction, darkness, and despair. It was horrific, it was tragic, it was a pain to watch when it first happened. You can literally see my initial reactions all the way back at the start of the Blue Lock reviews, and you can see me being like, this is a bad idea and will cost us greatly. And would you look at that, well over 100 chapters later, it was a bad idea that cost us greatly. But that's why I like Neo Egoist League Reo. Notably, if you had to ask me, what is the fundamental difference between Reo and Nagi, even if both do have an unhealthy codependence on each other, it would be the internal motivation between the two characters. Nagi, at least for now, or before he got removed, had none. Or at least not like a solid one. He only had beating Isagi. And like a beating Isagi in the most loose terms ever. Like the most loose terms ever. I love Nagi well before the fall off, trust me. But even then, that was a weakness of the character I was willing to acknowledge. But Reo, big Reo, I will always admit, did have that core foundation, that basis, that solid rock at the core of his character, that desire, that need, that ego, if you will, that always made him technically more stable. And I think that's what the Neo Egoist League is all about, showing who between the two in this relatively unhealthy codependent relationship was actually the healthier, who actually had the more solid basis for progression and growth when the time and need called for it. And of course, we see through the Neo Egoist League, Reo doesn't really change. Not until the very end. He's still so focused on supporting Nagi, still so focused on their dream of becoming the best in the world together, still so focused on this lofty ideal, and that is what makes him different, and in this case, better than Nagi. Because he's still focused on rebirth, on evolution, on everything in the future. Because he didn't even consider their defeat over Isagi an actual defeat. Like he was like, yeah, sure, we scored one big goal on him, but they like cooked us for the rest of the game. So don't worry, Nagi, we're gonna lock in, we're gonna keep moving forward, and we're gonna be better. Even if that means we have to change how we be better. And we saw that specifically in the Barcha game, and I think that is what kind of brought me around to the character, specifically in his Neo Egoist League run. The idea that Reo was willing to change. Right? Obviously, you know, that's kind of his whole thing. Chameleon, copy, change your colors. But very specifically, he's willing to change actively and passively. You may be wondering, huh? Nagi was willing to change passively. You know? He was like, yeah, sure. I guess I'll like pass the ball. I guess I'll like help other people score. Like, sure, whatever. That was Nagi post his goal in the Neo Egoist League. It was very much, whatever, you know, I'm kind of just here to do the thing. Reo, when put in a place where he realized their value was in jeopardy, was like, Nagi, we're gonna do anything and everything to get value. I don't care if it's an assist, I don't care if it's a goal, I don't care what it is. And he was actively on that mindset. But he passively supported that mindset in the Barcha game, very specifically when Chris Prince was like, hey yo, Gangaroni, you know what time it is. Get this ball at your feet, bro. And Reo was like, the ball at my feet, bro. And then he scored. Now, if you had to ask me, before that goal, did I think Reo was going to score at all in Barcha? Absolutely not. But it's that unexpected nature that I like. And that's why I think Reo's arc is all about rebirth, rebranding, re-actualizing, essentially. Not in the sense that he fully re-actualized during that game, but the fact that he was already on the verge of being able to. The idea that instinctually, on a fundamental level, he wanted it. Nay, needed it more than Nagi ever did. In that moment, he could have cowered. He could have stopped. He could have been scared of the opposition before him. But rather than that, he evolved, rose to the challenge, and transcended it. That is a character with the potential for growth. That is a character with the willingness to evolve. That is a character with the ability to destroy oneself in order to progress. One of the core factors of Blue Lock that we've always seen is necessary. And of course, what I love about it the most is that he dragged Nagi down with him to the very end. Ultimately, it was Rayo's loyalty to Nagi in spite of his evolution that led to Nagi's downfall. When Nagi froze up in the face of Otoya, of all characters, if Rayo hadn't been there, if Rayo hadn't run up and been there to support him and been that choice, who knows what would have happened? I mean, they probably would have still lost, considering Nagi froze up in front of Otoya, but still, who knows what would have happened? That lack of knowledge, that lack of certainty, that lack of confirmation, that is the good thing. Just like Nagi speculates, hey, what if you had said no? What if I had never asked you for help? What if we didn't regress on our character arc spontaneously? That question, that what if, is one of the most beautiful parts of it, because notably, Rayo, in spite of his denial right after the situation, has moved on. In the latest chapter, at least at the time of recording, chapter 306, we literally see Rayo as block Nagi. Personally, block Nagi. I highly doubt Ego himself came down from heaven and was like, block that boy, I swear. He was literally just on his own, decided, yeah, it's over, it's done. I need to keep moving forward. I need to go on becoming the best in the world by myself, if only for what I once had with my friend, but especially what I did to her. And that sort of almost Phoenix-like resurrection arrives from the ashes of despair for Rayo, where he has this determination, this need, this hunger, in spite of what he's lost, if almost because of what he's lost, because of a mix of what he's lost and his own actions. That's beautiful. And I think the reason I glaze it so much, specifically on the Neo Egoist League, especially in comparison to someone like Kunigami's Neo Egoist League run, is because Rayo was a side character on a side character by a side character in a side story, right? Like, you think about it, we've gotten like 5 chapters total of Rayo in the Neo Egoist League post-Vanshine, but it was enough to flesh out the character, flesh out his arc, flesh out his development, and very specifically set up all the dominoes to knock them over. Now, of course, will Rayo's arc be heavily affected by any sort of Nagi return at all? Absolutely. But in this case, just because of how Manshine versus Bartra ended, with Rayo's ascension, evolution, ability to give assists to anyone, ability to score on his own, and specifically the most recent chapters affirming that Rayo will become the perfect copy of literally everybody. In the case of the return of Nagi, I think we will get what the Neo Egoist League implied we could have possibly gotten at the start. If Nagi is somehow on the team, or in the future is somehow on the team, I think it'll genuinely be how it was implied to be at the start of the NEL. They will be together, but they will not necessarily rely or acknowledge on each other, both for their own sakes. If they're in a scenario where it happens to work together, fine. But they're not going to actually seek each other out. They're not going to actually hold each other down, because both know they're only put in a scenario where they're separated in the first place because of that weakness, because of that reliance on each other, that over-reliance. That unhealthy relationship, I think it's over, no matter what happens with Nagi in the narrative. And for that case, I must give Rayo his due props as a character, and I will admit I'm very excited to see his future going on from here. Which I would have, like, literally asked me, like, 3 months ago. I would have never said, I just did not care about Rayo. But with that being the case, that is why I say Kanashiro Sensei's kinda cooking. Gotta cooking. Because to take a character who I could not have cared less about, and then make me not just appreciate his writing, appreciate the fact that he dragged down one of my literally my former favorite character from my top spot to, like, darn near fighting for a top 10 spot, and also managed to have his own solid rock and foundation that I, a person who doesn't like the character, have to respect and say confidently fits into the ideals, determinations, and drive and overall narrative thematic messaging of Blue Lock. And once again, he's a side character to a side character. He's Nagi's deuteragonist, which in the main manga means he's Nagi's side character, and then Rayo's a side character to Nagi's side character. That's some good stuff. That's Kanashiro Sensei whipping it up in the kitchen, something delicious and nutritious, and I respect that. Because it's hard to do. It's really hard, especially with such a limited screen time, for Rayo to have such a complete and beautiful run in Neo Egoist League. And all that does is make me excited to see his future. And very specifically, I do want to see how he's going to be allowed to succeed narratively. Will Rayo get goals? Will he get assists? What will his overall narrative weight and role be, considering he was pretty hefty in the Neo Egoist League? So I wonder if he's going to rise even higher in the heft, or just get a little bit smaller when he's throwing around his weight. Regardless, I am excited to see where it is going to go. But of course, I am out of time. So if you made it always the end of this video, please do me a favor and leave evolved copy. Evolved as in like evolution, and copy as in, you know, copy, because these are mainly, you know, I'm talking about. But leave evolved copy in the comment section down below. I want to thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that notifications will so you don't miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, do have a Patreon below where you support me for as low as $1 a month. You think exclusive videos, early content, and more. Also, now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. So those perks include the live reactions over the series I'm to review, ad variations of all my videos. If you become a $12 Patreon or a $12 member, you can order whatever video you want. Also, the link to my Ko-Fi in the description down below, and you drop 5 minutes for a short video, 20 minutes long video, or any beats at all. Any support is always greatly appreciated. Now, I'd like to thank you so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Dag on the Pencil, writing off. I would like to give a thank you to our sketch tier members: Eternal Flame, Redwolf 4765, Astro, Super Flame Zero, Glacier, XZ, Zera, Brendan Payne, J2MA, Guillaume, Buddha Uda, Alex Kenny, Yuki Ally, Enzo, Nevis 97, Zachary Wilson, Azo 2404, Planet Crone, Rye Rich, G Prosper, Swift Strike, Alexicon, Striker Man, and Autumn Mornings Lazo. Then, I'd like to give a thank you to our line art patrons: Sean, Midnight Lord 21, Kevin, Encarnacion, Dread Zoan, and A+A. Then, I'd like to give a thank you to our Ink tier members: Austin Wimberly, Euchia, and Shrimpo the Shrimp. Then, I'd like to give a thank you to our digital art tier members: J Warrior and AZ Void. And I'd like to give a thank you to our colored art tier patrons: Joaquin Munoz and Joaquin Munoz. And a final and thank you to our ultimate, that guy with a pencil tier patron, Calvin's wife. Not Calvin Elder, who ultimately does have one of my kidneys, but now I must know, and I must undergo the process of getting this second one removed, so I can send the other over to this wonderful family.